You could strum your guitar like this. Or you could strum your guitar like this. Now what I want to show you in this beginner's guitar lesson is an alternating bass note picking technique. And we're going to use three very common beginner guitar chords. We're going to use C major, F major and G major. Now don't get me wrong, that first strumming pattern was really nice. It's a great way to play. But you know, adding alternating bass notes to your strumming is a really cool way of leveling up your playing, you know, spicing up your guitar playing, your rhythm guitar playing. And it's a really common technique that you hear, especially in country music. You hear it in pop music, you hear it in rock music, you hear it in a lot of different styles. Which is why I think it's a really good technique for all guitarists to learn. So now let's look at the technique using the C major chord. Now for this alternating bass note picking strumming tutorial, there are two versions of the C major chord that you can use and the F major chord as well. So here's the C chord, and I'm using the 5-string version of the C chord. That's the first finger, second finger and third finger, and you can see it on the diagram. And we're playing this strumming pattern, and it's pick, strum, pick, strum. So pick is the first beat of the bar, strum is the second, pick is the third, strum is the fourth, and that's going to keep repeating and repeating and repeating because we're playing in 4/4 time. And so pick, the first pick is the 5th string. It's this A string here. That's pick, strum. Now the alternating bass is you're now going to play the 6th string, and the way I was playing it in the demo is I would take this finger here and then move it over to the 6th string, the low 6th string, and do that pick and then strum. So I'm going like this: pick, strum, pick, strum. Getting a bit Zor with the Greek here. And you hear that alternating bass note. And I like using this version of the C major chord because of the movement of this third finger. Now, as I said, there's another version that we could use, and that's using the 6-string version of the C major chord. So the first two fingers are in the same place, but your 4th finger is where your 3rd finger was, and your 3rd finger is now on the 3rd fret of this low E string. This is a slightly bassier version of the chord. And now doing the pick strum, it's going to be exactly the same, but there's going to be no movement on your fretting hand. So you're just going to go pick, strum, pick, strum. And when you're strumming, basically you just strum the chord as normal. Now, I have seen some videos that say strum the rest of the chord. I've probably said it before as well in some of my past videos. But you know, thinking about it, really, you could just strum everything, or all of the chord as normal. What's really important though is this hand here, your picking hand. So, you know, you've got to have a little bit more control over this hand. Yeah, you've got to be a bit more careful about what you're picking. And I think at the beginning, when you're starting out with this kind of technique, this kind of pick strumming technique, it's really common to fluff your lines, as it were, and to either pick the wrong string or to find yourself picking two at once. But you know, once you learn this, once you get used to it, once you practice this on a regular basis, you'll get this kind of thing going. comes with time. Now let's have a quick look at the F major chord. Now there are two ways we can play this F major chord. We can play it like this here, using the first finger barring, well, a mini bar, the first fret of the E and the B, then the second finger on the second fret, and then the third finger here on the third fret of the D string. You can do that. And then when you're doing the alternating bass pattern, you're going to do basically the same as you did with the C major chord, right? So it's this third finger that's going to go dung, 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 dung. It's going to be skipping the strings. So it's going to, first pick is, that's your first beat, then strum, and then third beat, you're going to move over, you're going to move that third finger over to the same fret but of the A string. And you have the same pattern again, like that. Now the other version of F you can play is using all four fingers. So again, the first finger and the second finger doing the same thing, but like the C chord with the 6-string version of the C chord, you're going to put the fourth finger where the third finger was, and then the third finger is going to go on the third fret of this A string. So you have, again, a slightly more fuller sounding chord. And when you do the pick strumming pattern, you're going to go pick, strum. Let's have a quick look at another bit of strumming that you can add to this pattern, just to liven it up a little bit. So that first pattern was quite simple, a very easy way of doing this bass note strumming pattern. So we're just going pick, strum, pick, strum, pick, strum, pick, strum. And again, that's very nice. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, even when you're playing it at speed, it sounds pretty good when you're playing it at speed or when you're playing it slowly. But one other way that you could do it, just to give it a little bit more spice, is this. So you've got this pick, down, up, pick, down, up, pick, whoops, pick, down, up, pick, down, up. And I think that's also a really nice way of playing this strumming pattern. It's really good. Now we've just been playing C major and F major. Let's have a quick tip on how to transition between those two chords. So looking at the 5-string version of C and the 4-string version of F, you know, when you're changing between these two chords, something that you want to kind of have in mind is these two fingers here. So these two fingers are the same for the C major chord, and then when you play the F major chord, all you're going to do is you're going to lift them two up and then move them across. So from the 5th and the 4th string, lift them both up, keep them in the same position, to the 4th and the 3rd string. And when you go from the C and you put that across for the F, you're going to then flatten your first finger onto the high E string as well. And then when you're going back, you're just going to lift these two up, move them over once, and of course make sure you're only playing the B string at the 1st fret. If you're playing the 6th string version of the C chord like this, and the 5-string version of the F major chord, what you can keep in mind for this is these 3 fingers here, the 3rd, 4th and the 2nd, will all lift up and then just move them across one and like that. So on the C chord, you're playing the 6th, 5th and 4th string. You'll lift them up so that you're now playing the fifth, fourth and third string. And of course, again, with this first finger, you will now flatten it to make that little mini bar. And of course, the same applies in reverse. So you're going to go, just lift up all of these, shift them across one, and make sure you're only playing that B string at the first fret. So these chords have fingers in common that can make transitioning between the C to the F and the F to C a little bit easier. Now let's check out the G chord, and this one is slightly different with the alternate picking pattern. For the G chord, the picking pattern is slightly different, and just a word about how you play it. Now I play it like this, with my fourth finger, third finger and second finger. If you play it like this with your third finger, second finger and first finger, or even like this with your fourth finger, third finger, second finger, first finger, it makes no difference. You'll do the same thing with your picking hand. So, what you're picking now is the sixth string, that's your first beat, pick, strum. Now, we're not picking the next string, we're picking the fourth string. That's going to give us the alternating bass. And don't worry about why for the moment, just know that this is what you need to do. So you're going like this, pick, strum, pick, strum, pick, strum, pick, strum. And of course you can play that different strumming pattern we talked about earlier. Now I want to talk a little bit about theory. Please stay with me. Alternating bass note picking, this is a technique that's used on many instruments, not just the guitar. And as I said before, it involves switching back and forth between two notes of a chord. Now these notes that you use are commonly the root note and the fifth note of the chord. I'll tell you a bit more about that in just a tick. The fifth note of the chord is usually played lower than the root note. So I'm going to give you the info for the C major chord. Then for homework, or maybe fun work, you can try to work it out for the F major chord and the G major chord. And let me know how you get on with that by leaving me a message down below in the chat, which is just under the like button. So here's the C major chord, like this. Now theoretically, all you need to play is the first note, the third note and the fifth note of the C major scale, which makes up the chord. And a C major scale looks like this, and it's basically C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then this keeps going. Now in a C major chord on the guitar, this note here on the fifth string, the A string, this is a C. The next note on the D string, and you playing the second fret, that's an E. And then this open string here, well, it's an open G, and that's your C, E and G. But as I said, you play the root note, which is C, but then you play the fifth note, but usually it's the lowest, or it's lower than the root note. And in this case, it's here. That's the fifth note, so which gives us this sound. Now see if you can work that out for the F chord and the C chord. And as I said, let me know down below in the chat. Let's put this pick note, alternating pick note strumming pattern into a little chord progression. And obviously we're using C, F and G. So what we're going to do is we're going to play 2 bars of C, 2 bars of F, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, and then repeat that. And for this little practice run through between the two of us, we'll just use play it at a slow tempo. And remember, you can play the C chord like this, or the 6-string version. You could do the same with the F, And the G, well, the G, you've got to watch out for the G because of the alternating picking here is slightly different. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. A lovely little thing. But you know, try practicing that and speeding up. So, you know, a great way to just practice is to do one of the chords and just go over it and then speed up. As I said, getting a bit absorbed with the Greek. And also add the different strumming pattern. And that's a really great way to practice, just playing the chord, doing the alternate bass picking, speeding up. And also one thing you'll have to really deal with is making sure that your strumming hand is relaxed. You know, a lot of beginners find themselves doing this like that, you know, a very tense strumming hand. So try to relax. You know, maybe before you play, maybe before you start playing, you know, do this, you know, loosen up your wrist a little bit before you begin, and it can help you a little bit getting a much nicer, much smoother rhythm pattern. Now this alternate pick strumming technique is probably one of my favourite ways of playing guitar, especially playing rhythm guitar. And I think it's just a phenomenal strumming pattern, just doing this. And of course you can do it with other chords, you know, not just limited to G, C and D, sorry, C, F and G, but you can play with C, you can play with G, you can play with D, you can play with A minor, you can play with all sorts of chords. But obviously for this particular lesson we're just looking at C, F and G. And one of my favourite songs to play this is a Beatles song. I don't know, maybe you know I'm a bit of a Beatles fan. And it comes from the White Album. And I think it's on side 2. And it's a Ringo Starr song. Any ideas what I'm talking about? Or are you sitting there rolling your eyes? Well, it's a Beatles song, a Ringo Starr song. It's Don't Pass Me By. And I really love it because not only does it use the same 3 chords, C, F and G, but you can really hear the dung, 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 dung. Maybe if I do that with the guitar, you can really hear this thing. Listen for your footsteps coming up the drive. Listen for your footsteps, but they don't arrive. Waiting for you knocked it on my old front door. I don't hear it. Does it mean you don't love me anymore? Don't pass me by, don't make me cry, don't make me blue. 'Cause you know, darling, I love only you. Yeah, I could probably play the whole of that song right now a few times. Absolutely love it. There's also a couple of other things in that song apart from this. There are these things here. And these are guitar walk-ups and guitar walk-downs. And if you want to know how to play those, then check this link here. Thanks for joining me today. Happy strumming.